Bright Duty. Every student matters.
So children, till now we have discussed various modes of reproduction followed by different organisms to produce young ones and to carry on their species. Now in this section today, we'll discuss about this mode of reproduction in human beings. Human beings carry out sexual mode of reproduction in which one female gamete and one male gamete fuse together to form a new cell called zygote, and this zygote then develops and grows into a new organism. Now before we discuss about male and female reproductive system, let me just tell you about adolescence and puberty. Now you must have noticed as a child, when you grow, the body grows in size. Your height increases, your weight increases, you lose your milk teeth and the permanent teeth you gain. So all these changes can be categorized as the changes related to growth. But in the early teenage years, you must have noticed there are totally new changes occurring in the body. New features are developing. These changes cannot be categorized as changes related to growth. Now, some of these changes are common for both boys and girls, like their hair grow under the armpits or the skin becomes oily. Some of us also might develop pimples. So these changes are common for boys and girls, but there are many changes which are different for boys and girls. For example, the girls start menstruating during this period. The mammary glands enlarge and grow. While on the other hand, in boys, the body becomes more muscular. The chest and the shoulders, they broaden. The voice becomes deep, right? The hair grow on the face. All these changes indicate that the body is becoming sexually mature. It is becoming ready for the process of reproduction. This stage between the childhood and the adulthood is called adolescence. And the period of adolescence in which the body becomes sexually mature, that is called puberty. Now all these changes which occur during puberty, they are very slow, gradual process, or they occur over the period of months or the years. They are not fast, instant changes. Gradually the body becomes mature and becomes ready for reproduction, right? So once a body becomes mature, that means inside the body, the gametes are being formed, the actual internal sexual organs have grown up and they are ready for reproduction. Now let us first study about the system, the male reproductive system. Rest all other systems which we discussed so far, they are same for boys and girls, for males and the females, digestive system, excretory system, but the difference lies in the reproductive system. In male reproductive system, some of the organs are involved in the production of the male gamete. The male gamete is called sperm, and the other organs are involved in facilitating the transportation of these male gamete into the female body for the process of fertilization. Now this is the diagrammatic representation of a male reproductive system. The primary sex organs of males are, there are a pair of testes. The testes are primary sex organs. They produce the male gamete, that is the sperm. So sperms are produced in these organs. The testes also produce the male sex hormone called testosterone. I told you about this under the topic of endocrine system. The testosterone hormone released by testes, it serves two purposes. First, it regulates the production of sperms in the testes. Secondly, it is also responsible for secondary sexual changes occurring in the body, which I just told you about. So testes produces hormone testosterone. It also produces the male gamete. The hormone testosterone has two purposes: to regulate the production of sperms and for the secondary sexual development. Now, once the sperms are produced, they are stored in this coiled tube called epididymis. So the testes produces sperms continuously. They are temporarily stored in this coiled tube called epididymis. Then there is a tube-like structure called the vas deferens or the sperm duct. The sperm duct actually joins this epididymis to the urethra. There are a pair of vas deferens, and ultimately they unite with the urethra. If you remember, we studied under excretory system that there are pair of kidneys which make urine, then there is urinary bladder which stores the urine, and the opening of the urinary bladder is urethra. So in males, there is a common passage for the urine and for the sperms to exit out of the body. There is a common passage called urethra. So these vas deferences, they unite with urethra to form a common passage. Now, on this passage, there are various glands around the vas deferens. First is the seminal vesicle glands, a pair of seminal vesicle glands as you can see, and this is prostrate gland. These glands secrete their secretions into the vas deferens. So during ejaculation, what happens? When the sperms are coming out of the vas deferens, these glands will secrete their fluid into the vas deferens, and that fluid is called semen. The secretion of these glands serves two purposes again. First, it gives the fluidity to the sperms. So the sperms can easily move in that fluid. Secondly, these fluid contain fructose, amino acids and other nutrients which will give nourishment to the sperms. So giving fluidity and nourishment, that is the purpose of these glands. So the fluid, that is the sperms plus this secretion from these glands, that fluid is known as semen. The semen can come out of this common passage through this organ called penis. Penis actually transports the semen into the female body. So this is in detail about the male reproductive system. I'll just repeat it once again. A pair of testes which makes the male gamete, that is the sperm cell. It also produces hormone called testosterone. The sperms are then temporarily stored in this coiled tube called epididymis. These testes, they are in the bag-like structure called scrotal sac or the scrotum. This scrotum hangs outside the abdominal cavity. This is so because the production of sperm cells requires a temperature which is a little lower than the normal body temperature. That is why the scrotal sac is outside the abdominal cavity, which maintains a temperature little lower, 2 to 3 degrees lower than the body temperature. Then from the epididymis, the sperms can travel through this tube-like structure called vas deferens or the sperm duct. The seminal vesicles and the prostrate glands, they secrete secretions into the vas deferens. Now the fluid, the secretion spreads the sperm is called the semen. This semen comes out from the common passage. Urethra serves as the common passage for the urine and for the semen to come out of the body. So this is male reproductive system. Now let us study about the female reproductive system. Right. The females also have a pair of primary sex organs called ovaries. There is a pair of ovaries. Now when a girl child is born, there are thousands of follicles in the ovary. After puberty, what happens? One by one, this follicle matures and becomes an egg cell or the ovum, which is the female gamete. So, one follicle to mature into an egg cell takes about 28 days cycle. So, a cycle of 28 days is called a menstruation cycle in females. So each ovary will make one ovum alternately. So in 1 month, if this ovary made an ovum, in the next cycle, the other ovary will produce an ovum. So alternately, one egg cell is produced in every 28 days. So these ovaries, they produce the egg cell, which is the female gamete. This is released into this tube-like structure, which is called fallopian tube or the oviduct. This oviduct joins the ovaries to this bag-like structure called uterus, right? This is a muscular with thick lining, muscular bag, it is elastic. It can expand when the baby is actually growing into it. Uterus is also in common word. It is known as womb, where the baby grows. It is thickly lined, as you can see. The fallopian tube is also the actual site of fertilization, where the sperm cell and the egg cell actually fuse together to form a new cell called zygote. This fallopian tube is the site of fertilization. Then this muscular bag-like structure called uterus. Uterus opens into the vagina through cervix. This is the structure of a female reproductive system. Now, what happens? In a cycle of 28 days, one of the ovaries will produce an egg cell or the ovum into the fallopian tubes. This is an egg cell produced by this ovary. Now, there are two conditions. If the sperms enter into the female reproductive system during this time, the fertilization will take place. And the second condition is the egg cell is released, but sperms are not there, fertilization will not occur. So I'll explain you these two conditions one by one. Let us first discuss what happens when fertilization does not take place. When an egg cell is released, it lasts for about 48 hours. So, during the 28-day cycle, when the follicle is maturing into the egg cell, the uterus is preparing itself to receive the embryo. Okay, for the growing baby, for the growing fetus, it is preparing itself. So, a thick lining is formed around the uterus, which is made up of blood, mucus and fibers. So, if fertilization does not take place, what will happen? This lining is not required anymore. So, this lining will start breaking, shredding, and it comes out as a flow from the vagina. This is called menstrual flow. It happens for about 3 to 7 days. So, after every 28-day cycle, if fertilization does not take place, this lining breaks and comes out as menstrual flow. Then again new follicle starts developing and a new egg cell is released. Now, second case, if fertilization does take place. So, at the time when egg is released, if penis enters into the vagina and ejaculates and releases the sperms, there are millions of sperms released at a time. And the sperms, as I told you, they have a tail-like structure which helps them in moving. So, the sperms move around in all parts of the female reproductive system. The first cell, sperm cell, which comes in contact with the egg cell, fuses with the egg cell to form a zygote. That is a single cell. A new cell is formed, zygote, which contain half the chromosomes from a male gamete, half the chromosomes from female gamete. It fuses to form first cell, that is called zygote. So, as you can see, fallopian tube is the site of fertilization. Now, once the zygote is formed, what happens? This zygote then divides to form two cells. Similarly, repeated multiplication will occur. These two cells will again divide to form 4 cells. So, as this cells keep on growing, this stage is called embryonic stage. That is called embryo. As it keeps on growing, the cell divides. It also moves downward towards the uterus. And ultimately, in the uterus, it just gets embedded. This is the embryo. It gets embedded in the uterus. Now, at that site of uterus, a disc-shaped specialized cells are formed. This is called placenta. Placenta is the site where embryo gets embedded into the uterus. So, specialized cells are formed here. What will happen? This placenta actually provides nutrition and oxygen to the growing embryo. This placenta has a lot of villi and it is richly supplied by the blood on the mother's side. So, from the blood of the mother, it takes up the nutrients on oxygen and provides it to the growing embryo. And also it takes away oxygen and waste products from the embryo and releases it into the mother's blood. So, this way the growing embryo gets nutrition. Now, as this embryo grows, after some time, what will happen? The tissue differentiation occur. The different organs will start appearing. You can see through an ultrasound, we can see face, fingers, hands, feet, they start appearing. That stage is called fetus. When the body parts, body organs are visible, that stage is called fetus. So fetus keeps growing into this uterus. And as I told you, uterus is a muscular bag. It can expand to make a space for the growing fetus. Now, this fetus in humans, it takes 9 months to grow fully. This period is called gestation period. The period in which the zygote converts into fully formed, fully developed fetus. It is called gestation period. In humans, it is 270 days or 9 months. Now, once this fetus is fully grown, what will happen? The uterus, there is a rhythmic contraction, which and the cervix, this dilates. So, due to this rhythmic contraction and dilation of cervix, the fetus can come out of the vagina, and that is called childbirth. So, this is the whole process of pregnancy and childbirth inside the female body. So, male reproductive system I told you about, also about the female reproductive system. And then in female reproductive system, I told you what happens if the fertilization does not take place, then the menstrual flow. What happens if fertilization does take place? That is called pregnancy. And it takes 9 months of pregnancy to deliver a new baby, a new child. Now, another topic which we must discuss is the reproductive health. Now, as I told you, the body is changing during puberty. So, these changes are very slow and gradual. These changes does not mean that your body is ready for reproduction. The body inside is still growing, it is still developing and becoming ready to give childbirth. During this period, you must take care of your health, reproductive health especially, maintain good hygiene, eat good diet, a balanced nutritious diet, and also do not come under peer pressure. What used to happen in earlier days, soon after puberty, children got married, especially in rural areas, they were married. So, and pregnancy at early age led to many health problems, especially the girl child were weak, they remained anemic, even the newborn child was not healthy, the deformities were very common. So, the body, although the puberty we see changes, but the body is not fully mature for pregnancy and for childbirth. Apart from this, another topic to be discussed are the STDs. These are sexually transmitted diseases. They are a set of infectious diseases which can infect a healthy person. An infected person can infect a healthy person through sexual contact. Such diseases are called STDs or sexually transmitted diseases like gonorrhea, syphilis, warts, and HIV/AIDS. These all are sexually transmitted disease. So, to prevent these STDs, one must maintain good hygiene and one must maintain safe sexual activities. Right. So, the next topic which I want to talk about is about contraception. There are many instances, many times the couple, the male and the female, they do not want the pregnancy to occur, or sometimes they want to space around between the two children. So, to prevent pregnancy, there are various methods. Such methods are called contraceptions or contraceptive methods. There are various contraceptive methods. First is the physical barrier method. In the physical barrier method, the sperms are not allowed to come in contact with the egg cell. So, there is a physical barrier between the male gamete and the female gamete. So, fertilization will not occur. So, the examples are condoms which can be used by the males, then cervical caps or diaphragms which can be used by females. Apart from this, there are other IUCDs, intrauterine contraceptive devices like copper T, which is very common. This is a T-shaped device which can be inserted inside the uterus by a doctor. So this will prevent the sperms to enter and reach the fallopian tube, and it will prevent fertilization. So these are physical methods. The physical methods, the condoms and the diaphragm, they are also helpful in preventing the STDs because the body fluids are not coming in contact. But the IUCDs are not effective. If a female is using copper T, it won't be effective against STD. It won't prevent, because in STD the T-shaped because in this copper T, the T-shaped device is put in the uterus, but the fluids do come in contact, right? So it is not effective to prevent STD, but it is a very effective method to prevent pregnancy. The second, apart from physical, the second is the chemical or the hormonal methods. Certain hormones can be given as pills. Okay, females can take it as a pill. They disrupt the production of egg cell by the ovaries. But since they just cause imbalance in the hormonal balance of the body, there are many side effects of these methods. The third and the effective method is the surgical method. In surgical method, what happens? This fallopian tube is cut surgically and it is tied up, right? So what will happen? Although the egg will release, but it is not available for fertilization. This can also be done in males, in which the vas deferens is cut and the two ends are tied up, so the sperms are not released outside. So the surgical methods are quite effective, and they can be reversed also. When the couple is ready to have a baby for the pregnancy, this can be reversed by surgical methods. So these are the methods of contraception when the couple does not want a new baby, they are not ready for the pregnancy. I told you about the physical method like condoms, diaphragm, also intrauterine contraceptive devices. The second is hormonal method. They are taken as pills, but they have their own side effects. The third is the surgical method, which can be reversed by surgical procedure. So this is all about reproductive system in humans. With this, we complete our chapter, How Do Organisms Reproduce? Thank you.